Chaser can just go full AP with a lot of burst, which then gives him one-shot potential on a lot of squishy targets if he wants it. So there is still the negative effect if C9 wants to try and stack armor, not to mention very few people on C9 have the luxury of stacking armor because they're gone with a mostly damage composition.
That's true. Zanya's rush for everyone.
Kinda.
1 minute on the clock as the coaches deliver their final words to the team's safety on the back line of Dignitas with a lot of aggression on that top first 3 picks that are there now. And we see a lot of safety and opening up these initiations for C9. Long range and a little bit of shield disengage for them. It'll be interesting fights here as we get into the early game.
Yeah, C9 do have a good amount of CC, but Team Dignitas have all of the move speed to try and initiate with. You have the Lulu plus the Kled ultimate if they want to run in. The problem is, that is where Team Dignitas found their faults in the first game, was running in too far and not accounting for the Orianna counter engage. Now you add Zyra on top of that and equalizers on top of that. Things can get very dicey if Team Dignitas isn't playing clean, as they did not play clean towards the mid and late game of game 1.
Just got to put more shields in there, more speed, get a Sivir, get the Ori back on your team, the Lulu. You can dive and run anywhere you want. Coming in here to game 2, Dignitas looking to keep the series alive with a possible win. Hashtag DigWin, hashtag C9 win. Throw in your votes as those will come up a little bit into the game, and we can see how you're voting for your favorite team here. Cloud9 sitting towards the top of the list, looking to solidify their position. As we said, Dig looking to climb. The C9 and Immortals game stand between them and a possible playoff position here at the end of the spring split. We're ready to get on to the Rift for game 2 of Dignitas versus Cloud9. There you go. Sometimes you just got to dance a little bit.
Yeah, that's generally the main reason you pick Kled outside of his kit, is the screeching you can do by emote spamming.
Every time I see him on that skin, the Chocobo music starts playing in my head. That's what it looks like. Running around on a big bird. But it's Skarl, a trusted companion. He rides his steed into battle. It'll be against Impact this time, not Ray, as we mentioned before. Ray in that first game, if you're just joining us, a victory for C9, as you can see here. You see how Impact can come off the bench and start producing results here. A lot of love in the early game. Thunderlord's making Lod think twice, has the flash. Sneaky, one more shot. That's gonna be the big one to Sneaky going for 172. Means first blood for you. Sneaky gets out.
Oh no!
Knight coming in. Do they get Xpecial? He's just throwing glitter everywhere. Not enough to save his teammate, but first blood, 1 minute in. That's what we're looking for.
Spells burned. That's a rather early first blood, and it does not put Team Dignitas in a favorable position. Watching this, Sneaky, just chilling out in the brush. Lod is like, you know what? I probably shouldn't have done this with no teammates near me. Normally, if you're going to invade for awards, you need to at least have your teammates with you. It allows Cloud9 to be boldly aggressive. They then exhaust after Lod has burned Summer Spell. Sneaky has prepped the 4th bullet, so he feels safe flashing in. Xpecial then ignites on the backside because he thought he'd be able to get one back, but that just ends up being a wasted Summer Spell. And pretty disastrous opening there for Lod, as he really should not have been there.
A lot of choices for Cloud9 now. Did they decide to go and work all the summoners bot lane, or just allow Sneaky and Smoothie to keep pushing this lane? And we'll see how it works. Lod, Xpecial on the Lulu, and Lucian can still keep themselves safe. Right now a kill and a longsword actually start for Sneaky, as he was able to get back in time.
Yeah, and both of these duo lanes are going to be vulnerable to jungle attention.
That's true.
Since flashes are down, and this early in the game, bringing a level 3 jungler into a level 2 lane makes a massive difference. So it's actually going to be really interesting to see if they're willing to shove through the rest of the game.
Impact getting the better of the initial front-end damage here in levels 1 through 2. Ssumday just trying to farm with his bear trap on a rope. Doing quite well.
Chaser gets a flash cocoon, it would be something, but C9 would have to expose themselves for it.
Contractz.
Elise also coming in from the back. This could end up being a 3v3 and get very ugly.
Taking the long way around. Sneaky! Does he decide to come in still? Depending on where Chaser he leaves, he actually just goes down to the bot side, does not try to go towards the ward in river. So Contractz is left kind of wanting in this situation. But he did have to take the long way around. He would have been seen by the ward anyways. Dignitas acting fast at the beginning of this one. Good pressure by Ssumday, trying to actually work behind the minion wave, but meets another one. Got to be careful of that damage.
Yeah, too many minions for Ssumday to push further in onto Impact, and jungle had just shown bottom for Team Dignitas as well, which is why Impact was safe pushing. Speaking of that gank in the bottom lane, Chaser was really just the first one to the spot, and he recognized the situation a little bit before Contractz, knowing that all summoner spells have been burned, thinking all you need to do is land the Flash Cocoon, and then that target is dead. And the fact that Contractz is going the long way around just meant he couldn't match as early as he wanted to. So props to Chaser.
Contractz back to his jungle, not far behind in CS, but wanting to make up a little bit of those camps so he can start to focus on the lanes. Nicely over the wall. And a good read by Chaser, goes bot lane, sees that Impact has been pretty aggressive at pushing in Ssumday. And now it looks like Ssumday's actually calmed down that Flame Spitter burn, so keeps the lane in the middle, a little harder to gank.
Yeah, Ssumday changed his pattern a little bit there. He had been feinting towards his turret. That time he feinted towards the brush. Chaser's still going to be up here, though. Impact has flash.
That overheat goes for the hit, repel in, another few. Ssumday goes in knowing Scarl will give him the hit from the turret, disengage, and then it goes on to Chaser. They buy a few shots nicely to get the dive in.
Yeah, so the early game first blood, while it does impact the bottom lane, is no longer affecting the overall goal line of this game because Chaser has pulled off multiple successful ganks. Not challenging Smite too, and the turret diving potential of a Kled and Elise should not be underestimated. Two people can reset turret aggro from within range.
Great point. Especially for him to just flash in to get that to equal out there. The teleport already used by Impact. He's flying up to lane, as well as his flash in that instant. So Chaser now trying to work off summoners being down. Heal for Jensen. Oh, nice dodge to the right. So it would have been a for sure cocoon between the turret and the wall. Summoner's getting blown all over, though. Chaser doing a great job of creating pressure.
Yeah, he definitely is making an impact early game on Elise, and it's tough to relieve that pressure from the mid lane as Jensen seems to consistently do this when he gets ganked, is saves his flash because he believes in his ability to sidestep, and he had such a narrow margin to dodge that cocoon with. Probably would have been a kill if he wouldn't have done it, but he saves flash, and now that makes the next gank less threatening.
6 coming up close. Actually hits it before Jensen. You may see a little bit of Chaser love mid lane.
Ooh, Impact could have been in a little bit of trouble there. Probably gonna end up being safe.
He squeaks out. It's like, I feel like I am surrounded by people. Sixth sense tells me I am right, and he backs out. So push to the wave here for Ssumday, 35 to 28. That's gonna be missed minions now for Impact as he starts to fall slightly behind in lane. Not terrible for a Rumble. All right, Contractz looking for an in and an out. If the minion wave gets there, he's got a for sure safeguard. Well, right now the team is pushing it slow to not initiate anything until Dignitas there is going to be a gank. Oh!
They have summoner spells.
Face check on the brush, actually gets away before the cripple comes in, and he cannot get the slow onto Lod. This may give Chaser a bit of a chance to get himself into range.
Keane also has ultimate at Ignite, so Team Dignitas might want to chase this.
Death mark onto Contractz, look for it above his head. He's going to stay safe on this one. Oh, Ignite, however, could change that. He will stay alive. Very, very close. The summoner heal comes out from Sneaky there.
Yeah, so Ignite burned as well as Flash on Contractz, but pretty much summoner spells around the board. C9 would have wanted to go a little bit earlier, but they couldn't quite get the minion wave to the turret in time. Having to heal down onto Lod, though, will make this a more dangerous lane for him to stick around in.
Yikes. Those really sting early game, especially with the use of Thunder Lords. It's nothing to play with. Smoothie and Sneaky have been taking quite a big advantage of that. Sneaky out of mana, but that doesn't mean he can't get a last bullet off, so they're in lane to push this one to the turret before they buy. He's sitting on 1,600 gold right now, so got a pretty good back. Forward wards from Smoothie. Allowed Contractz in as well, so Cloud9 looking to clamp down a little bit more on the bot side of this map. Not too much pressure for Ocean Drake to start things off, though.
Absolutely, and the top lane aggression is going to be there, actually. Kled has a ton of early game damage, but both junglers collapsing once again.
Wow, reading each other like a book here. Ultimate comes in, so Chaser's got the movement speed. Contractz knows he can't close that distance, and now he might be in a real bad spot. Locked down with the bear trap. Chaser as well, looking to get the kill. Gets that execute in, and they take down Contractz too.
And I think a pretty poor choice by Contractz to join in on that fight. He knew how dead Impact would be.
Right.
Thought maybe he'd be able to trade a kill back, but it really wasn't that close. Ssumday and Chaser in particular, has been generally ahead of the game on Contractz. Xpecial says hello.
Plants, Whimsy, Glitter,
Whoa.
Ignite. No rotation from Keane. Almost got him. Put the help picks on, thought he could get a bit more chase. And Smoothie goes back to plant life. You'll see this again in the top lane. Like you said, I think it was a bit healthy here for even Contractz to come in.
Exactly, pretty early equalizer, and Chaser was just ahead on the play. Like if Contractz comes in, maybe they get something out of Ssumday, but then once you see that the Elise is there, Contractz did not have to jump in to follow this, and you can see there's still 250 health on Chaser at the end of that fight, so not an incredibly close battle.
All right, so reminiscent of what Dig was able to do in game 1, can Team Dignitas carry this on now? Find those advantages they've been pressuring. Chaser's done a great job at hitting lane to lane, blowing summoners, and then using that advantage of them being down. Here we see him already doing more vision work to give the team safer lanes, more of a push.
Yeah, they really want to keep pushing on Impact here. Impact has flash, but no ultimate for now. And remember, we talked about the double turret resetting by the Kled and the Elise, so they're going to go.
They just saw Contractz on a ward down by the red buff. Safe gank to the top side, and they are in. Contractz realizing he grabs aggro, but like you said, both can just deny the aggro of the turret.
Yeah, but now that they've been so laser focused on that top side, Team Dignitas is going to feel pressure someone else. C9 said 4 people down bot to try and race the turret.
That is one healthy turret. We saw a lot in Xpecial taking some hits here, but they have been able to clear the waves. This calls Cloud9 down for the turret trade. Let's see how Ssumday is able to move off of this one. This is where Dignitas started to slow down, as I say, in that first game, as the map started to open up just on the edge of the shockwave. You saw the Thunderlords come through, so not any tricky damage for Keane to find other than what the commanded dissonance is. He knows he has to leave the fight.
Yeah, Jensen really controlling that mid lane.
We're getting pushed out very well.
Yeah, and Sneaky and Smoothie really controlling the bot side. So, you know, this is a 5-kill-to-1 game, but C9 is actually winning 2/3 in the map. This is the 1/3 where they're not winning, though.
Hooks him over to the right. Cocoon into Bear Trap. They lock down Impact, making sure he comes into the game. We're going to try to get this guy's mental on tilt. He could still be able to do all right. Close to coming onto that Leandries. The boots are going to be there, and equalizers are still going to hurt.
Yeah, and Impact has to hit the ground running as well. It is a challenge we don't often speak about in League of Legends because very few teams do mid-series substitutions, but when everyone else is in the groove of playing one game, coming in cold off the bench can be considered a detriment for some, or you get the advantage of watching the tendencies in game 1, but it really depends on the player who comes in better in that. And in this case, Impact has come in off the bench and been heavily focused by Chaser and Ssumday and has been unable to get aid from the rest of his team. In previous situations, when Impact has struggled on Cloud9, it's been kind of like this, where it is the enemy team sending many resources up to Impact, and Impact being unwilling to sacrifice CS, continuing to play relatively aggressive in lane and getting punished for it.
Because that's what you think happens at the second tier turret. You're like, all right,
I'm safe.
Tier 1 fell, I'm safe, we can do it. Gets dove under his turret. And 10 minutes into the game, sub 10, it's already been a few minutes past that kill. Dignitas very much in the face of Cloud9, putting a stranglehold kind of strategy on them, so they cannot breathe. This is the first chance they've really been able to get in the open as a team. Contractz placed these wards a bit earlier, so they're trying to work off what was done before, roll this back into their favor. 2K gold lead here for Dignitas is C9 only coming up with vision and wards right now. Ssumday's still having a top push.
Yeah, and they really are trading sides of the map. Chaser's got to be very careful about where he goes right here. Team Dignitas is trying to transition their Zed down into split pushing. This could be a 5v5 though.
Chaser very low, doesn't have much to go. He actually goes over to red buff. Keane is there to help him out. Wild growth onto Lod. Xpecial stays alive as the culling goes back into the fight. Ssumday's come all the way from the top lane as he has just been harvesting the minions, keeping Impact pushed in, forces his teleport. The equalizer on the edge of Xpecial burns him down. Ssumday very low as Keane. Now the rest of the team gonna find the third call. Lod takes a hit. He gets through the uprights and another one to miss as C9 doesn't have the rest of the follow-up. A 2-for-1 as Dignitas comes out on top.
And that was actually a situation where the Jhin nerfs to only have a half-second slow on his ultimate compared to a 3/4 second slow prevented a kill from Sneaky because Lod was able to take a shot and then still get his move speed back to juke the third shot. But looking at the fight overall, there was a it looked like it was going to be a faster collapse than it was for Team Dignitas because Keane is over the back here and is really patient with how he goes in. He's kind of juking back and forth, then ults in onto Jensen, but shoots back with his ultimate after he ate the shockwave. And this keeps Ssumday in kind of a 1v3 who is incredibly fed. And if Impact wasn't 0-4, that shockwave potentially kills. The escape comes through at the very end. Is that a spiderling that killed him at the very end?
Volatile spider, yes.
That's how it turned into a 2-for-1, so unlucky for Impact, falls a 5th time.
4-0-2 Ssumday, 4-0 for Chaser. It does seem like they are having fun in the top lane. This is where Chaser could lose that. The shutdown going over to C9. If he dies, it would be a nice handful of money they could use to complete some items. But this is also where games can get strenuous, is when you watch those kills walk away with a sliver of health over and over again. And the shields are providing that for Dignitas to keep them alive and on the map. 8-2 here, 15 minutes in. Still 1,000 gold lead. It's just Dignitas has been able to open up the map. Somehow C9 always finds their way back in.
Yeah, and even if we break down the gold leads, it becomes a pretty unique game. Ssumday and Chaser, Ssumday a 2,000 gold lead compared to Impact, and Chaser a 1,000 gold lead over Contractz. But then you look, mid lane and bot lane, it is C9 with the advantage. So as far as number of roles advantage, this game is very even. It's slightly more in the favor of just Ssumday and Chaser feasting off of Impact and Contractz early on in this game. But if you get the misnumbered fights, there are still points of power that the teams can play around.
Lod now to mid. Dignitas has done a good job these past few games of making sure they're out of lane and trying to facilitate something else. Jensen 162 to 118 with how that lane actually went. And I've been enjoying Jensen's Orianna play, actually. Never really the initiation on the ults, always a counter hit. And he's been finding at least 2 to 3 members, making it tough for Dignitas to get full fights in their favor. C9 pushing mid now with power and numbers 4 here, and Impact. The teleport is not up. This could be a fight that they continue on.
Yeah, C9 already in their turret, though. So not much Ssumday could follow up on it.
Just kidding.
It pulls off the push, and they're going to try and set up for this mountain, or this ocean drake in about 50 seconds. This is testing, though. Team Dignitas got to play this tight. They don't exactly have an easy-to-execute team composition. The Zed's got to be very careful. Kled not necessarily that tanky. They have a very assassin-focused Elise build on Chaser.
Hopefully he can continue his power. A lot of this AD may be stopped if Cloud9 gets some money under their belt and they can find some armor items. Like we said, good for Dignitas. That's not usually in the build of C9 members at the moment. So the damage could still stick if they get Keane to the backline on that assassin. Good eyes onto Contractz, making sure, like you said, that Ocean Drake a little more in favor of Dignitas as they hover that area.
Yeah, but the teleport discrepancy is no more in a few seconds. Impact already in the mid lane. It's all about who can prep the side waves right now, or C9 just want to give it up.
You get an ocean, we get an ocean. Dragons evened up in this one.
The Impact just opts to go for the top wave, so he's not going to be able to immediately threaten this turret with a lot of damage. This could be a 1-for-0 turret trade. Actually, no, because Ssumday burned his teleport, so he can't make it back up there.
They may be able to get mid. We see Lod heading towards mid lane. Bot should fall. A slow trade. Impact obviously won't crush down that turret with the speed we see happening for Dignitas. But mid lane is going to be that pickup here. Not enough culling to take down the minions, even with Ssumday kind of posturing from the side.
Yeah, and
They
C9
say
have
no
to,
worries.
C9 have to get someone top lane, otherwise Impact's going to take that turret slowly but surely.
Go.
No vision control for Impact, though, so this time he does back away to prevent a 6th death.
He'll be good. Ssumday clears it. Keep a bit of a CS lead for himself. Actually, pretty even in CS on that top side with Impact grabbing all the aggression in the early game. 1-5-0, 8 deaths.
Yeah.
Or I should say kills on the side of Dignitas. And you can see how much pressure Ssumday and Chaser put to that top lane. It's kind of fizzled out now that they don't have somebody to pick on. C9's been able to ward up and deny a lot of the aggression from Dig now.
Now, one positive thing about Rumble is he always has a certain baseline of effectiveness. He hits level 11 to get the rank 2 equalizer, already has the Leandry's Charm and Magic penetration, so a well-placed equalizer is still threatening kind of no matter the number of deaths you have.
Don't see too many Rift Heralds nowadays.
Pretty rare.
More so lately, though, it seems. As it is taken and given to Ssumday. Going to be an even bigger menace in that top side here. If he meets up with Impact, they hear the Rift Herald go down, and Cloud9 knows they can get at least a majority of their people, even in darkness, to the Dragon before it's going to be Dignitas. Oh, hello. They're getting pretty aggressive. Ssumday split push top side. A lot of what C9 has is that counter engage, even though the equalizer can set things up for them. That Smoothie ult, that Jensen ult.
Yeah, and Team Dignitas will also want to flank with the Zed and the Kled if they are to get these fights. So when C9 push up that deep in the mid lane, they have to be very cautious and ward their flanks quite well to make sure they don't get collapsed on. That's why they back away that early.
Those shoulder wards, as I call them. Got to make sure you got something on your left and your right, all the way up and down mid lane if that's where you're going to try to pressure. That's a good one by Smoothie and Contractz to keep the top side of their Fog of War clear. Oh. I don't know if they want this. They don't have too much vision over that red buff, so Ssumday could be going into danger here. Contractz grabs it. Chaser getting pretty hurt. He's going to have to put himself up, but drop in the same spot and drop on that equalizer. Dignitas goes in blind to C9's jungle, and they are starting to regret it quite a bit. Contractz taking damage. That puts Lot in the front for a possible death onto him, and then Sneaky takes the death mark. Easily going to live from that as Dignitas is kind of inching themselves in and out, but only really taking more damage than they're able to deal. Impact almost gets himself out alive. There's the auto coming in from Chasers. Keane stays alive. What an extended fight here. And still, actually, it's 2 for 2. In a fight, I thought C9 came out on top.
Yeah, really messy as well. We talked all about C9 wanting to avoid flanks and Team Dignitas wanting to get them. And then Chaser and Ssumday just kind of go off on this rogue mission at C9's red buff, engage in a smite fight when the rest of their team couldn't support. So it sets up a pretty easy collapse for C9 in that situation where Jensen gets the double kill off the shockwave. But then it just gets even messier. So we're going to watch this one more time, and this is rather peculiar. Keane is in the river, whereas C9 can clearly have all 5 people here. Sneaky opens up. It does get pushed off of curtain call by Laud, but the route from Smoothie into the Jensen shockwave is great. At this point, you think C9 is going to be able to get it clean, but Keane does turn around enough, and the red buff is actually what finishes him off. And I guess at this point, they're sneaky enough to be able to pick up some kills, because Cloud9 could have easily just disengaged after the first 2 kills. So definitely some misplays on both sides here, both on Team Dignitas, who shouldn't have been there in the first place, and C9 just letting it get a little messy after winning the early part of the fight.
Chaser keeps himself alive. You can see Ssumday feels pretty strong. Actually not the tankiest member on the team. Does have a good bit of damage though, so he can make an impact, change C9's mind with that front end damage if he gets a good whack in to start it off.
Everybody go for impact.
Macaroons. This is the composition you want to see that Sivir in at this
Trying
point,
to recall
right?
in time.
Should be good. Oh, forced to move. Volatile Spider to start things off, and they're going to burn down Xpecial. Impact doing what he can, valiantly going down. Looks like Dig getting pushed around the map here, so they're not with minion waves in any position to take down the turret. Just a quick kill on Impact and hopefully setting up vision to allow some further plays.
Contractz going for the solo kill. Whoa. Contractz, yeah, attempted to predict the Q because he knew he had Orianna coming around the side, but
would have been nice.
Would have been very sick.
Oh. Doesn't look like they're going for too much of a fight. C9 cleaning up the outside of the map. Calling on to Jensen, they get in quite fast. That was the wild growth. Who's gonna be over the wall to take him down? Command, shield, and dissonance. Bit of hesitation there from Dignitas. Both sums onto Jensen, so they may get a return kill.
Jensen's still pretty solid right there. Lives through a lot of people getting thrown at him.
It does turn into a moment where Dignitas can domino into something advantageous. Turret goes down in the mid lane, possibly now over to Infernal, so a good timing actually to say, let's push Jensen out. The advantage gives us much more than trying to flash and kill him. 11-4, Dignitas spread that lead a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, even with that though, still an incredibly close game, and you look at the team fighting that Orianna can bring, always gives C9 a chance, also considering the majority of that gold is distributed into Ssumday. It's a person you want the gold on if you're Team Dignitas, but it is still a single point of failure. Running away.
Still has flash and teleport, so not too bad. Gonna have about 112 seconds on the ultimate, so just near 2 minutes. 3 in mid. Push lane for impact means he's back. C9 is going to play safe for the time being. They do have a teleport from him, but no wards in position to make that happen. And Dignitas also back in their base. Things calming down here at the 25-minute mark, but it's still Dignitas in the lead. A few fumbles here and there, but it seems like they're trying to play a bit safer now. Chaser and Ssumday not going on any more missions by themselves.
Yeah, gotta make sure they're keeping it clean in this stage of the game. Around 25 minutes is when they kind of lost control of their 6,500 gold in game one. This game much closer, and even though C9 is on the back foot, they have definitely played from these deficits before.
Ooh!
That solo mission.
Deja vu! This was the same spot. Of course they're gonna know you're coming back. Ssumday low, gets the exhaust out. Sonic Wave follows, resonating strike, Contractz picks up the kill, goes down. For his efforts, Chaser's gonna get knocked up, taken down. There goes Xpecial. And Chaser just about at the same time. Lot over the wall, and Deja vu. Dignitas puts himself into the fire once again, and C9 know how to react.
Just not the right places to be invading, and it's too predictable. C9 layer the equalizer with the shockwave and demolish Ssumday and Chaser. It might have been Xpecial and Chaser that got caught up by that shockwave, but just clean up there by C9 to cleanly win a fight that Team Dignitas wasn't prepped to invade with. They don't have any wards past the point of their invade. That inherently makes it dangerous. Ssumday low, meaning he can't fight back. And then right here, they're in another one of these tight corridors. Equalizer comes down on the shockwave, which makes the burst even more immense. Quick 3-for-1 for C9, and they even this game right up.
Oh, possible helpful kills. Shields him. No way. They're going to take him down. He actually has to pull all the way back to the initial ult. Oh, good guy Contractz with a bromant for impact. Flash was burned. Teleport still up for impact, so C9 can still make the cross-map plays.
I've talked about everyone needing his Zonias. That definitely helps against the Zed when he's going for those targets. Keane would want to get onto Sneaky or Smoothie in these fights.
Ninja Tabi's there for Sneaky as well. Is the armor he can squeeze in.
Really trying to force these fights is Ssumday.
Whoa. He's going to be down to about 25%.
Oh, no.
Can't even get to him. Chaser locked in there, and it's going to be him and Ssumday falling. The mission is impossible, and this time the rest of the team's left to run away. Baron in the eyes of C9.
That one was just a huge overforce by Ssumday. Keane was still running back from base, and yet another blind engage by Team Dignitas before they have vision of everyone leads to another poor play. Now C9 turn for Baron.
Kled with the culling. Tries to get himself in a good spot. C9 pick up the Baron. Xpecial in a bad spot. Almost a harpoon. Scuttle basically saves his life, but the next harpoon, free of charge, hits onto Kled. Can they finish the kill off? And it does come in from Smoothie. Really no reason to be there for Dig.
Yeah, full tilt coming in from Team Dignitas right now. They seem to be in disarray. Kled stops to kill a control ward while C9 chases him down, and he is quickly eliminated. C9 now in full control.
quick spin around, just like last game. So looking at C9's early game could be something here as they move on and look for the top spots in the league. We'll see this fight one more time. The ult works when people are behind you. Yeah, follow through. Exactly.
The rest of his team is in the mid lane, so they're following through at normal speed. And by the time Team Dignitas funnels towards him, they're trying to follow up on the play, but they walk right into an equalizer and a shockwave. And we talked about being able to use this Kled ult intelligently and the danger of using it into an Orianna, a Rumble, and a Zyra. Yeah. And Team Dignitas hasn't been able to do that. C9 is just kind of waiting for Ssumday to run into them, and it is working despite the giant lead that Ssumday had earlier on in the game. Now just 1,200 gold up on Impact, and C9 making a strong push with Baron. Ooh. And Jensen is fed.
Jensen being Jensen. I was gonna say, it's been interesting. Dignitas has chosen to take these fights in the jungle. Having so much control from an equalizer, a shockwave.
Well, here we go.
Another kill comes in. People are getting soloed out all across the map. So how is the resulting fight gonna happen? Lot out, Impact out, and we initiate once again. Sneaky gets the death mark. He's pushed back right away, but he's still gonna stay alive for the time being. Keane gets a shield, flashes himself out with the Ignite burning, should stay alive, and he does. The team now moves on to Contractz. Ssumday actually got the Sonic Wave, and Contractz finishes. Will they be able to get back to him after the Guardian Angel comes up? Another tag there as Jensen moves to safety. Shield and dissonance on Keane, trying to represent back into the fight, but he can't get the damage down into Jensen. And these just do not end. Is that the second time he ulted in this fight? I can't even tell anymore. Ssumday comes up with a kill. Jensen with another one onto Xpecial. And this one finally fizzles out with people across the map.
Yeah, Jensen ulted to kill Laud before the fight even started, then gets it back to kill Xpecial at the very end of this fight. Jensen is out of control on this Orianna, but this is also a very messy game. Neither of these teams want to be playing this style going towards playoffs. Watching this with an AD dead for Team Dignitas, so no lot, they decide they can force because they've killed the Rumble on the side and do not have to worry about the equalizer. Not to mention the shockwave is down, so critical ultimate's down to allow Team Dignitas to kind of funnel in right here. And Ssumday just tries to smack people to death as he engaged before the rest of his team. Jensen does a great job sticking around this fight, staying safe with the Zonias here, kind of flashing away. The remount from Ssumday buys a lot of time, but then right here, like Xpecial thinks he's so safe going through, but gets caught by just the end of the shockwave, and Jensen has the burst at this stage in the game, and it just gets bigger for him now with death cap completed.
And thinking about how long that actually went, he killed Loud with shockwave, and then at the end of the fight, killed Xpecial with shockwave. That's how long it continued to go. Crazy. Somehow favoring C9 here as they're able to walk in and out again. Fights towards the jungle, favoring the equalizer, the shockwave, the curtain call. And Contractz on Lee Sin, hopping about over walls more. It's been hard for Dig to lock down their targets. C9 again, living in the side of Dignitas' jungle and ready to deny the resources. Blue buff over to Jensen. Nicely done.
Yeah, Jensen with the Morel and Omicron and Zonias and his rune page, hitting that clean 40% CDR. Meaning that shockwave is only on a 48-second cooldown.
Wow. That's crazy. As well as Orianna's kit at this point is just in and out with the command and the protect dissonance every so often, and you are just kind of confusing the team with placement. As we said, we've seen Jensen use it more in a, hey, the fight started, they're not seeing the ball anymore, now I'll ult, and it's just been taking Dignitas off guard in that situation. Keane looking to get just a little bit more, but you can see how much pressure they get even trying to step out of their base from Cloud9. We'll see how they can do when they reach the front doorstep.
Yeah, already just looking to go for C9.
Very Talia-esque equalizer, stopping Dignitas from getting anywhere. Nice job by Impact to start things off. Shockwave has already been used in this one, and big damage coming in from Volatile Spider. Chaser able to hit Contractz and goes down. That's Guardian Angel. Where's the focus next? Keane's hit up very fast. And that looks like they are able to get themselves back to safety. It's only a few, or I should say one dead on Impact, but Keane and Laud are down, and that's a lot of damage for Dignitas.
Yeah, I mean, Team Dignitas has a lot of trouble getting in. Ssumday dismounted before that fight even really began, and then Contractz sacrificed his Guardian Angel so they could secure the kill onto Laud. This means C9 can continue this push.
Bot wave, luckily pushing out for Dignitas. Only have to worry about mid if C9 were to stay. But Looks like they stave off any damage on the inhibitor for now, luckily being 2 members down. C9 knows they just want to keep a nice, clean advantage. Baron coming up in a minute and a half. That will need some vision. And they will need to reset their wards as these controls get cleared out by Dignitas.
Yeah, tons of control, though, before the fight as far as eliminating flanks. Knowing Ssumday couldn't come from around, they check the brush. The equalizer as well just kind of makes them take it from Sneaky. And Ssumday, with the shockwave, ends up dismounting right there. And yes, Chaser moves through and they get the cocoon onto Impact, which then ends up having the volatile spider and finish him off. But like the rest of the team, they don't necessarily have a front line if Ssumday dismounts that early. They can't get through the Zyra, they can't get through the Orianna. And the fights are much more disciplined from C9. Aside from Impact, who is dying every time. It's really not been his game. This has been a carry performance by Jensen for sure.
It's that zombie rumble play. I haven't really seen it since Karthus, but reinitiating it. Fake the other team out so much.
9 of the team's 15 deaths, so 60% of the deaths this game. But he's still trying to get those equalizers. That one doesn't work.
A little message sender than that one. See if we can split the team and get a follow-up. But no go. He's actually looking at currently just around 70 seconds, 81 seconds on his ultimate, so they can do that pretty often. Dignitas finally getting all their members in a basket. Wild growth very early on to Ssumday, not really baiting in a kill, but it does get Contractz. Is this enough for them to continue to follow? No grab on by Ssumday, calling onto Impact. See Scrap shields himself. The safety is going to be maybe early. The damage is going to lock onto him. Yes, it does, as Impact tries to save himself a little too soon. And now Dignitas find themselves 2 kills and possibly a mid-turret. A late curtain call coming in from Sneaky, but it's actually when they needed it. 562 popping up on the screen as that last shot turns the tide of the fight and turns Dignitas away.
Yeah, I mean, Impact's equalizer was already down, and Contractz did not have his Guardian Angels, so when he took that Q in, it was very quickly turned around by Team Dignitas. Xpecial did have the early ultimate, but it interrupted Contractz out of his resonating strike, so also allowed the follow-up kill to come more quickly. Dignitas keep it interesting with that fight.
Where's the push? A lot janitorial duty in the bot lane and the top side. Like, Cloud9 actually coming off of 2 kills have quite a bit of room to work with to get wards out. Gotta feel pretty good about that. They didn't lose too much ground. 3 Drakes again in a game over to the side of Dignitas. It means Elder Drake very much on the table for them. We saw Baron, something that cost them a lot last game. It'll be a big decision of which they really decided to jockey for this time.
And it's always difficult to check the Baron. Team Dignitas do not have great scouting options.
I'd say keep going Ssumday. The team's not fighting yet. Teleport is up. They don't have too many wards around Baron though, so I guess their hand is a bit forced as they are pressured.
Zyra also assists Baron pretty easily with the plants, but you can see how dark that is right now. And C9 can just kind of start it up. It would be an interesting trade for Elder Drake though, because Team Dignitas have 3 of the elementals if they can get it in time.
Gentleman's agreement, Jatt.
Yeah, this makes it interesting actually, because Team Dignitas potentially stronger in the 5v5 now.
Are they gonna do it?
Just rush top lane? They can consider it.
They're hesitating. Hesitating, but going, stopping to see if there's actually a push or a pullback from C9, so they were kind of measuring it based on that.
Yeah, there's a chance that this just delays the game until the Elder Drake and Baron buff are gone respectively because of the power traded between them. But Team Dignitas has wanted to go. Kled goes right here.
I want to see some fights. That's what we're looking for. Zanya's down. That means it kind of goes on to Contract first. Impact trying to get himself to safety. Both redemptions going in the same spot. Shockwave not doing much over on the side of C9. Contractz goes down first. Then we see Xpecial fall. Ssumday on the front line with Wild Growth could go down. And that's going to be the GA coming up. Do they have enough to protect him? Impact basically out of this fight. Smoothie can't re-enter in either. And Sneaky looking for some final shots. Oh, 1090 onto Lot. Almost cost him his life there as he thought he was being helpful. In the end, he does help a teammate out. Inhibitor getting hit up pretty hard here for Dignitas. So C9 is kind of edging out in map control for these fights.
Yeah, game definitely on a razor's edge. Super risky to have a 5v5 fight in a triple elemental Drake, which is why Team Dignitas went so hard on this initiation.
There we go.
Telegraph though, Impact's like, all right, equalizer, Zonya's. you have to wait now. But where this fight got a little ugly is when Contractz followed through for Lod, hoping to insect him, and Lod just dashed back. So Contractz eliminates himself from the fight. What happened as well is the Shockwave got burned because Jensen tried to ult Keane as the Deathmark approached, but Keane flashed it. And that really allowed Team Dignitas to not have one of those disastrous fights where they get caught in Jensen's Shockwave.
So much control. The captive audience they can leave behind as they go through the jungle. These little breadcrumbs that actually work very nicely like wards, but the ability to continue to catch. C9 sticks together. Mid lane getting pushed by Contractz here, as then they can work easily between top and mid. Remember that inhibitor's open on the top side, so once they open this bot, Dignitas is going to have trouble trying to defend all 3 lanes.
Yeah, the Baron buff has the use there, but the Elder Drake is still up for about another 10 seconds. When that's down, the power shifts back towards C9.
Keep seeing these eggs. I'm like a Nivea? Is it Nivea? That's Zyra's skin. Gotta watch out for the plants. We saw they gave Lod quite a bit of trouble earlier, and it helps the siege here. Smoothie setting up on the backside to make sure he can grasping root anybody.
Getting down this turret,
like
though.
There's too much that they can do. Not a whole lot of wave clear on the side of Dignitas, unless they ult.
Yeah, they need to pretty much hard initiate to get something going, but it's, as we mentioned, really difficult for them to get in on the Shockwave and the Zyra and the Equalizer. Turret going down. Ooh.
Shockwave.
It's Shockwave.
Once again, is that the trigger now for Dignitas? Ssumday gets the wild growth. Keane on the side. Captive audience slows him down. Sneaky gets the ultimate, and they're both going back. Everybody pushed out of the redemption. Sneaky now opens up curtain call from the backside. Xpecial's 1 shot away from going down. He gets hit by a plant, and C9 starts to follow through. They found an opening to fight, but do they find the kills? Another nice grasping root coming in from Smoothie. Locks down the team, allows the triple kill for Jensen, and C9 slowly pressuring forward, finally find the opening in Dignitas, finally find the opening in their base. And at 21 to 21 kills, 40 minutes in, Cloud9 will take down the Nexus and the series over Dignitas, 2-0.
And I'm sure it wasn't as clean as Cloud9 would want it to be, but they made the plays when it mattered most in this one. Jensen, a machine this series. 1 kill across both games he did not participate in. Aside from that, near perfect kill participation for Jensen. He was a huge carry for C9 in this series. Not a good day for their top laners, as Ssumday and Chaser definitely had the hand on them for the rest of it, but at the end of it, it is still a 2-0 for C9.
What surging play from Dig in the early game. Chaser towards that top lane, 7-4 and 11, 8-4 and 8, 15 of the kills, besides the assists they participated in, coming from those two as they pressured Impact, who came in cold off the bench. They tried to mess with him, and he still held his own in that top lane. And the thing about Cloud9 as well is they didn't do too much to repair what was happening to Impact. They knew just the amount of pressure to help him out, or just the amount to leave him alone and say, we need to focus something else.
Yeah, I mean, Impact is definitely not going to be happy about his performance there, but even with the lead that Ssumday and Chaser had, they just kept kind of throwing it at C9, and C9 was willing to bat out of the way.
The engagements in the jungle coming in from where Ssumday was going in, a bit of the communication. We talked about in the tight situations. These were very big, long situations where the communication could have come in, then been acted on, and it seems like the team was just so chaotically apart.
Yeah, C9 was good in the reactive situations this game. Didn't have many opportunities to play proactively because they were trailing for pretty much the majority of the game time that we played. From every early game, they generally were playing from a deficit. But with that deficit, you know, Orianna both games for Jensen, absolutely a machine. Some of his best games and best weeks have been when he's just locked in on that champion. You can really tell he's in that spot right now.
It really is, and it was the middle of the fights. We didn't see C9 actually putting themselves into too many fights. They took it, and then they would capitalize on something very big. That brings them now to 13-4. Which is actually going to be 14-4 if they can win all the way out. P1 can get to 13-5. So they're neck and neck with P1 there. They really need to continue these wins for C9.
Yeah, I mean, this means that Phoenix 1 has to 2-0 if they want to be able to take the playoff bye from C9. It also makes it so COG can't get the playoff bye, and COG is most likely going to be somewhere between that 3 and 5 seed. More to be told about these playoffs. The loss is going to hurt for Team Dignitas as well, because they would love to pick this one off, especially with their early games. A lot that's kind of starting to come together now.
It seems like a few of the things they tried to do. The Kled was seen by Cloud9. They got that ban in the first game. We did see it not coming together, but speaking of not coming together is C9's early game. Not able to do that going into playoffs is going to be a problem against TSM, against the other teams that make it. You have time to ready yourself before that, but it's been all season long. Yeah,
and none of the teams, I feel like, in North America are super confident going into playoffs. Everyone has the things that they want to improve on, because C9's early game, TSM's inconsistency and poor game record. There's a lot of things for